Hello, friends. So today we are continuing to learn about the distributive property. So today's slideshow may look familiar, and that's because it is. Yesterday, I used this exact same PowerPoint or slideshow to discuss distributive property. Now, the arrays are the same, and the multiplication sentences that were originally given are the same as well. But one thing I want you to notice and remember is when you use the distributive property, you can break an array up multiple different ways. So if you had a problem like 5 times 3, you can distribute it as 5 times 2 plus 5 times 1. Or you could use the distributive property and do 4 times 3 and then 4 times 1 to give you the same as 5 times 3, 2 different ways. So as you watch this, keep that in mind because you can break it apart different ways. So here is our first array and multiplication sentence. We have 3 times 6. For this problem, I decided to keep my 3 intact, but I'm breaking apart my 6 into 5 and 1. 5 plus 1 equals 6. Remember, when you are doing distributive property, you can only break up one of the two numbers in your original multiplication sentence. So by breaking up the 6, I now have the number sentence or multiplication sentence 3 times 5 plus 3 times 1. When I do 3 times 5, I am given 15. When I do 3 times 1, I get 3. When you add 15 and 3 together, you get a product of 18. The product is the same, you just get it a different way. When we do the distributive property, we like to use 5s and 1s and 2s and 10s. So, again, problem is the same. How it is distributed is different. And so we continue. Here we have the problem 5 times 4. We can break this up into 4 times 4 plus 4 times 1. In this case, that would mean that the 5 is broken up into 4 and 1. When you do 4 times 4, you get 16. When you do 4 times 1, you get 4. When you add these numbers together, you get the product of 20. Here we see we have 4 squares in the rows and 4 columns. Here we have 1 column and each one has 4 squares. And we continue. Here we have the number sentence 7 times 2. We can break this up into 7 times 1 plus 7 times 1. The number that was broken apart was the 2, and the 7 remained the same. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 7 times 1 is 7. When we add these together, we get the product 14. Here we have the multiplication 4 times 6. I chose to break apart the 6 into 4 and 2, giving us the problem 4 times 4, which equals 16, plus 4 times 2, which gives us 8. When we add 16 plus 8 together, we get the product 24. Here we have 5 times 3. If you break apart the 5, you can break it into 2 and 3. The other 3 remains the same, so we would have 3 times 2 plus 3 times 3. If you notice, this is 3 columns, 2 rows, so there's your 3 times 2. Here you have 3 rows and 3 columns, which is your 3 times 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9, giving us a product of 15. And last but not least that I'm going to model is 7 times 3. 7 times 3 can be broken up into 2 times 7 plus 1 times 7. Here we have 2 times 7, which is 14, and here we have 1 times 7, which is 7. The 3 from the original number sentence was broken apart. When you add 14 plus 7, you get 21. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a couple different problems. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to pause and solve these on your own. So go ahead and pause, write it out on some paper, how you could distribute this problem. All right, so now we are going to continue to our next problem. Here you have the original problem of 6 times 2. Do the distributive property to find your product. Pause as needed. All right, next up, you have the problem 3 times 4. Use your strategies of distributing to write out your multiplication sentence, your distributive addition sentence, and the product. All right, and last but not least, here you need to figure out what your original multiplication sentence was. Then write your distributive multiplication sentence, your distributive addition sentence, and then provide the product. All right, so you have more problems that you are going to go practice in your math assignment section. So go ahead, use what you know about distributive property, and keep trying and practicing.